lassù in montagna. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Seppellire lassù in montagna, sotto l'ombra di un bel fior.
Today, I want to thank the Reddit user RealShabanella for their help in my research and making it much more quicker and easier than it would have been on my own. For this third episode, we are going to talk about what society was like in Yugoslavia and what a Tito society would look like. Let's start off with a big issue, right-wing nationalism. The role of the Communist Party today lies in the necessity for keeping a sharp lookout to see that national chauvinism does not appear and develop among any of the nationalities. The Communist Party must always endeavor, and does endeavor, to ensure that all the negative phenomena of nationalism disappear and that people are educated in the spirit of internationalism. Tito to the Slovene Academy of Arts and Science, 1948. In Yugoslavia, the state government funded cultural programs such as different folk dances, cuisine, traditional clothing, even language programs. These were encouraged in local communities and in the country as a whole. A good example would be with the television channels, of which there were two in Yugoslavia, which had different language slots in which, by order of magnitude of ethnic groups and speakers within an area, news and other media would be on. Likewise, ethnic groups were all given equal rights and, as mentioned in the first episode, equal representation. Although under the monarchy in Yugoslavia, there were attempts to create a more unified Yugoslav identity, this mostly failed. However, under the Socialist Federation and Titoism, Yugoslav identity and culture grew on its own to an extent. With good incomes and not being overworked, Yugoslavs had more time to take interest in other things like sports, music, poetry, art, and other activities outside of work. Not only did Tito provide spaces such as parks or beaches for people to gather and hang out, but also organized performances by theater troupes, bands, and etc. for very low cost or free for people. While us Titoists are very opposed to right-wing nationalism, culture is extremely important and recognized as such to all people. Therein, they too are considered to be important to be provided. Between 1945 and 1953, the state did try to suppress religious institutions. However, between 1965 and 1971, this suppression decreased significantly. Some restrictions were implemented after 1972 due to an increase in sectarianism. On the other hand, in Yugoslavia, the state pushed for many religious buildings and monuments to be recognized on UNESCO's World Heritage List. The state emphasized on religion being of the past, yet of significant importance. Titoists believe that people should have the right to believe in their religion and practice it so long as it does not advocate for harm to others, such as being used for right-wing nationalism. To put it simply, religion is a personal matter. Crime in general was low across Yugoslavia, although I will be covering policing in a later episode on military and police in Yugoslavia. Education, as mentioned in economics, was free, but strict and rigorous. The following were mandatory: chemistry, physics, biology, math, geography, philosophy, workshop, homemaking, physical education, and French, Russian, or German, depending on which school you went to, as it was fairly randomized depending on where you were. Let's break this down further into what education would be from start to finish. Primary would last 8 years, grades 1 to 8, and children would start at age 7. They would have to take and pass the national examination before going on to secondary. Secondary lasted 4 years, grades 9 to 12, in which students would choose 3 options: grammar, vocational, or art school. Grammar school would focus more on social studies and science in general. Vocational would focus obviously on vocational studies such as artisan or mechanic work. Art school focused on the arts such as dancing, music, theater, and other art in general. Universities lasted 4 years, with an additional 2 years to gain a master's and an additional 3 on top of that for a doctorate if wanted. There were also post-secondary non-universities that had courses that lasted 3 years. All of this was free. Of course, I couldn't talk about Yugoslav society without mentioning the pioneers. Today, as I become a pioneer, I give my pioneer's word of honor that I shall study and work diligently, respect parents and my seniors, and be a loyal and honest comrade. That I shall love our homeland, self-managed Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. That I shall spread brotherhood and unity and the principles for which Comrade Tito fought. And that I shall value all peoples of the world who respect freedom and peace. The Pioneers Oath. The Union of Pioneers was not just to encourage youth to maintain a socialist group of which to identify with, but also to encourage youth to be respectful, responsible, and study hard. Titoists believe in feminism and are well known particularly during World War II for supporting feminism. In Yugoslavia, progress was made in women's education, literacy, and policies such as divorce, abortion, and maternity leave. However, in Yugoslavia, there were issues with a lack of feminine products, and that most still were in traditional work roles, like nurses and social workers. There were also a lack of women in government and a lack of general female representation within the state. In regards to LGBTQ rights, Titoists support them, although again, there were issues with LGBTQ rights in Yugoslavia. Some of the first pushes for LGBTQ rights was in the early 1970s, with the Croatian Medical Chamber removing homosexuality from the list of mental disorders. In 1977, the republics of Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, and the autonomous province of Vojvodina decriminalized homosexuality. In 1984, Magnus, the first Yugoslav gay organization, was formed, and the first lesbian organization was formed in 1987 called Lesbijska Lilit, or LL. Magnus proclaimed in 1986 and pushed for the introduction of prohibition of discrimination based on sexual orientation in the Yugoslav constitution, decriminalization of homosexuality in the whole of Yugoslavia, and the introduction of curriculum that would present homosexuality and heterosexuality on equal terms, and demand a protest from the federal government of Yugoslavia against the Socialist Republic of Romania, the Soviet Union, Iran, US, the United States of America, and other countries where homosexuality was still criminalized at that time. Being a leftist, it is my opinion that feminism and support for LGBTQ rights are extremely important. For one, education and public discussion through the media, such as radio, TV, music, and movies, could be used to help boost voices on these rights. Similarly, laws protecting the rights of women and LGBTQ+ people would be vital. In regard to religion, I believe that people should be allowed to believe in their own religion so long as it doesn't harm or pose harm to others. If there is anything you think I missed or just want to discuss Titoism and Titoist society, please leave a comment in the comment section below. In case you haven't already watched my previous videos, I suggest you also watch my other videos on what is Titoism that cover other areas of Titoist ideas in general. Again, I want to thank the Reddit user RealShabanella for helping me out with the research for this video and making my research process a lot quicker for making this video.